Welcome back to the Talkin Chop podcast, brought to you by the folks over at Chief of Staff KC. This week we're joined by our good friend Tom Martin with Let It Fly Media. Tom, great to have you with us today.
Good to be here, guys. Yeah. Excited. Talk some Chiefs, talk some biz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're ready to discuss the Chiefs' Week 1 win, 34-20 against the Houston Texans. Pretty good route. Mm-hmm. Like we predicted.
Yes, we did. I was the closest, by the way. You just want to throw that out there?
I know. We'll get to that. But before we get into that, I just want to bring you the positions of the week brought to you by Chief of Staff KC. Yep. We're a local recruiting firm based in Brookside, and we'll find you the best accounting and finance, admin, HR, operations, and sales talent Kansas City has to offer. So, Lucas, what do you got this week?
Sure. So we're going to go with a staff accountant. New order this week. Pretty exciting. The manufacturing company in downtown Kansas City. So you're going to need about 1 to 3 years of experience is really what they're looking for. New grad, sorry. You still need to have a little bit of corporate experience out there for this position. You're really going to be dealing with a lot of accruals, journal entries, some reconciliations, and you need to have experience closing the books at a large company. That is preferred just because this accounting group is rather large as well, and it'll be a more seamless transition. Bachelor's degree in accounting or finance. If you have any of those or check all those boxes, please give me a shout. We're looking forward to getting you in the mix.
Awesome. And on the HR, ops, and sales side of things, we actually have a senior account executive open in Lenexa. Really going to need some experience either selling like facility services, cleaning supplies, janitorial goods, things like that. Really just looking for a great closer and networker. And since it's a senior level role, base salary is going to come in around 60 to 80K, plus commission from there. Great territory as well. Get the whole Midwest to go after. No one in this role right now. Really good opportunity. So if you're a good salesperson, with that experience, reach out to us. All right, those are the positions of the week presented by Chief of Staff KC. So let's get into it.
All right, talking shop. Here we go, Tom. So you started your career in broadcast journalism, right?
I did.
You and I have discussed this for a while now, and obviously you're part of something much, I wouldn't say much bigger, but maybe a little bit more exciting to your taste. And where I'm going with this is after 6 years in journalism, what are some of the biggest factors that led up to the decision to join the Let It Fly team?
Yeah, I think it was trying to recognize where the industry was going. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of friends always told me, I don't watch broadcast news anymore. And I'd be like, yeah, that's great. It's funny because it doesn't matter.
Right.
It does matter. You want people your age kind of being in tune with things that you're doing, I think. And younger especially, that's where all things are headed, right? So talking to Ben and Andrew, who founded the company, I felt like it was really cool to see when they brought Billy Quatchin especially, taking a modern touch to corporations, to different types of industries, and trying to give them video they hadn't had before. And my role was to come in and be able to kind of do the same storytelling I would do in journalism, except I get paid for it, and we get more rewards for our work. I think in journalism, a lot of people have gotten burned out. A lot of people are asked to do a lot, and their salaries don't increase, and they are like, man, I don't have any good work-life balance. I need that. And I think working more for yourself at a company like ours has been super rewarding for that reason. So big change for sure.
Right.
Good. Well, thanks.
So walk us through, so you're the director of storytelling. Walk us through what you're doing now.
Yeah. So basically, I kind of try to oversee as much of the content messaging as possible. I want to make sure that everything that we do from a storytelling standpoint kind of attacks a few different things. You maybe present a little of what the conflict is for someone who's watching one of their videos, and then you get the solutions across. You find ways to connect real characters, real people. I think so many corporate videos we've seen have been so cheesy and so 3 seconds in, I've already seen this a million times before. And I think if we can actually try to take 30 extra minutes when we're editing these things and really trying to find out who these people are, what they're actually trying to get across to help people, I think that's the most important thing.
Of course.
And that goes back to interviewing, that goes back to anything that just comes down to being human. I think any human element injection into anything video is huge. So that's kind of my role, is to get that into as much as we do.
Awesome. So you've actually been with the team for a year to the day, is that right now?
Today.
Yeah.
This is first anniversary, get a little crown up here, a little birthday boy type deal. That's what it feels like.
Hey, we share the same anniversary, different companies, but
no way.
About 1 year as well.
September 16th.
Congrats,
Today's
man.
my 1 year.
Claps for us, man. Claps for us.
Yeah.
So I guess now that you spent a whole year with Let It Fly, what are some of the best memories you made so far?
I think we've had some really cool shoots. I got to interview Brooks Koepka for the PGA. We got to hang out with Colin Morikawa and shoot a lot on the golf perspective.
Oh, that's
and
probably fun. Yeah.
He's awesome, man. And he's got a big watch too. I think the biggest thing memory-wise is just everything we've done as a team, which is super cliche, but that's the best thing about working here is the people we have. They're all dedicated, but they're all from similar backgrounds where they were burnt out by people who put way too much on their shoulders in their old jobs, and we all try to kind of collaboratively help each other with a lot of different things.
Sure.
And so when we're out on shoots, it's really fun to kind of see how we can not just like do the best job we can for the client, but have fun. And if we're doing that, the work's usually better too. So we went to Big Cedar Lodge last year, the 5 of us who started the company essentially, and that was a lot of fun. Just getting to shoot a lot of golf courses and just hang out together. So anything involved with the group, just being together, and of course Chiefs Parade Day. That was our biggest video to date, and I'm jumping building to building to building, getting all these shots.
The drone footage was unreal.
Well,
you guys had.
funny
Billy out
story.
there running
Funny,
around
we
Tyreek.
faked it.
Yeah.
There was one drone shot the entire time because we had limitations and restrictions.
Oh, I can see
so
that.
we had to get on top of actual skyscrapers and just shoot down in the freezing wind and cold. It was crazy. But editing that thing same day, all of us gathered around one computer. We hit play, we watched the video, and one of our employees, dead silence, she starts crying. And we're like, yes, we did a good job. Nailed it. So stuff like that.
Give me a little insight real quick, sidebar, on the twist effect. When the drone was coming by the bus, I believe.
Yeah.
And it almost does like a 360 or a flip.
Okay.
Can you give me a little...
As director of storytelling, I leave a lot of that to our creative director.
Billy over here.
Billy's back behind the mic right now.
Billy.
He's behind the computer. Yeah. But for real, like that's something else though, is I think a lot of us are put in positions to kind of do what we do well. And I actually came up with a transition where I had a little car go across the screen and like 2 things changed, and that was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
but mostly it's letting our creatives do what they do best. And so stuff like that. That was with our 360 camera. So we literally had a tiny camera on a pole, and we just stick the pole out and just get stuff. And the magic of editing, it just takes care of all of it on the back end.
Yeah, I saw that that pole flying around at the Power and Light rally, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be really cool to see what
it's
comes
like
out of
10
that.
feet long, you're swinging.
You got to avoid hitting people. It's like, all right,
sure.
put that away down there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I have something I think we're going to run with for the foreseeable future, but this is a unique one. And we're going to ask every guest for a recent first down, sack, and Hail Mary. So first down being a recent small success that you've had here at Let It Fly Media, a sack being a recent setback or failure that you've learned from.
Okay.
And then a Hail Mary is going to be, this giant big goal that you have for the year, and you'd like to throw some Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams spice onto
Pat
it.
Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Chiefs podcast. We're gonna go. with
But I
that.
know we're not gonna see that.
I guess we
yet.
don't need to Hail Mary.
We got
You're
Clyde
right.
Edwards
You're right.
Helaire. It'll be this week. It'll be this week.
The Hail Mary, Dallas Cowboys last year. Fellas, you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that
okay.
was the Hail Mary.
The Hail Mary. Yeah, you can play off that.
It's beautiful.
All right, first down.
First down.
I think a small victory recently. I think this is so trivial. So I really think that music makes a big difference in our videos. I think if it's a song that doesn't sound like it's just been pasted on, but rather it has a purpose, is big. Billy and I looked at a few different services we could add for ourselves, and I think going through, checking out all kinds of different offerings that we can make to kind of stay on top of what we're doing to make it fresh and fun. It's been nice sort of understanding that that's a crucial element to our videos.
Yeah.
And so I think just a small victory was sort of really, you always want to have little like refresher moments, right? You don't want to get too stagnant. And so when you kind of figure out a way to kind of stay like you're ahead of the game, it was a simple thing, but it was cool just knowing, okay, we're on top of something like that. A sack. Man, I would say, I don't know if there's one in particular, guys, because I think there's a lot of little things you do when you're on a big shoot, things you forget, and you have to work around them.
There's a botch snap or something, maybe?
Yeah, let's go with botch snap. Let's say that. Well, so I am a weird person in that I think what aids my storytelling is not being the most like, let's say, put together. So sometimes like I'll forget something here and there in a trip, or we have to go back and I left like a wallet on a plane. Let's do that. I left my wallet on a plane. That's my sack recently. So I try, man, I really do, from a storytelling standpoint, try to like be as sort of uneven keel as possible,
Right.
but even keel's better for organizational purposes. So
Did you get
people
the wallet
Billy
back?
need me. I got the wallet back.
There you go.
Good
I
deal.
forget her
All
name.
matters.
Maybe it was Sandy. Sandy went back, got it back. I was like, thank you, Sandy.
Shout out Sandy.
Yeah.
Shout out Sandy. So, something like that for a sack, and then Hail Mary,
Patrick Mahomes style, by the way.
Patrick Mahomes style, where it goes forever. I don't know. I think our Hail Mary, a big goal for us is to grow and to do it well. It's a little scary because when Billy and I came in, it was 5 of us.
Right.
And we're trying to do a lot of local business, and we want to keep doing local business, but I also think trying to go out and attack an entire market in athletics. That was our big hire with bringing in BJ, was trying to make sure, okay, it's going to be a bit of a race to get a lot of athletes who want to start putting out their own video, and we need to find ways for them to be able to pay for it, and then that helps us out. But also, really seize their ability as outgoing college students and possibly even in college kids with the new rule changes. How can they best market themselves via video that's actually good
Right.
and not just user-friendly stuff? So I think trying to go out and attack that entire market, that's a big deal for us. And we're trying to hire up to go ahead and be able to, take that on.
Yeah.
Building a brand early, right?
Yes,
is
very
crucial
much.
for those people.
There are certain guys in college who might be Heisman contenders who might be able to make 6 figs just off social media posts.
Yep.
Right.
It's a little theoretical, but you could probably do it.
Game's changing a little bit on that end.
The game's changing. If we in the next year, I think, can really establish ourselves, I think that's a huge thing for our company.
And then growing as a company too, when you're a smaller business, adding to a team, that works so collaboratively, finding that right culture fit's got to be a big part of hires for you. Can you kind of explain, what you look for in candidates really?
For sure. I think it's huge because you have to make sure that when you bring somebody in, they bring something that we don't have. You want to add,
Right.
but that they're kind of able to kind of seamlessly fit culture-wise. I think that's where interviews are huge. We want to make sure that your resume is good, you're real. I think that's honestly the first start in video is what kind of personality do you add to your creativity, to your video. Billy and Andy Torres, they can kind of put that together from a resume send over. But it's when we first start talking with people and Andy will ask if they'll play FIFA on like PlayStation or Xbox, and it's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a possibility of harming things if you bring in the wrong person. As
Right.
good as their resume is, I think it's huge that they collaborate, especially, I think during COVID, a lot of us are all considering work from home. How does that factor in my life? And I'm thinking, gosh, we have to be in an office. Collaboration is so big for what we do. And so if you can get along, I think that fuels that tremendously.
Awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate all that. The knowledge. It's kind of great to hear your story and your goals for coming up. So I appreciate it. But let's get into let's chop it up.
Let's chop it up. Let's
chop
do
this
it.
up.
Let's do it.
So like we predicted, we got off to a very hot start in week 1. Kind of running through the Texans, honestly. Pun intended.
Yep.
With our first victory of the season, 34-20. Tom, we're going to start a new tradition here. We're just kind of working out some new things, but we're going to give the guests the first take on the game. So,
Okay.
Tom, time's yours.
Thank you. I think as a Houston Texans fan growing up, it was personally a toll on myself.
I was going to say, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've gravitated to where I like them both equally. I was just rooting for both offenses, just mega points in the game. I mostly got it. I think the big takeaway for me was the Chiefs are just well-oiled. As good as they were before, now that they've done it, you're thinking, okay, to do it again, which no one does these days, you got to be that much better. And I think just they're a complete team. All the COVID chaos didn't throw them off one bit. Every other team is trying to figure stuff out. How do we reach the mountaintop? The Chiefs are looking down, being like, I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we're set.
Seriously.
So to make a Texans team that's not that bad look pretty bad, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, we'll kind of get into this a little bit more as we kind of talk through some of the headlines. But, yeah, I think this offense is changing. I think gone are the days of 2018 where Patrick Mahomes is going to throw 50 touchdowns. I just don't
Sorry,
think we'll
Pat,
need it
fantasy
anymore.
owners, it's not going to happen. Me included.
He still put up 26, so I'll take it.
Yeah, but I just don't think it'll be necessary anymore. The game, it was great, right? But it just wasn't as exciting as what we're typically used to, right? And I just don't think we're gonna have to have those Rams games where it's just complete shootout, not taking your foot off the gas all game long. You're not gonna have to have him throw the ball 50 times, especially with our new workhorse.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Well, and I was kind of joking with him. We're so desensitized to the greatness that is Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
he makes these wild
I like
throws.
Patness.
The Patness that is Mahomes, right? No, but he's so great that we just go, oh, that's another play.
Yeah.
That's another throw that he just makes either sidearm or whatever, to whereas the rest of the league I still feel like is having that shock factor. And so it's kind of, we need to slow down a little bit, smell the roses, enjoy what we're seeing in front of us to this day. Another element that is aiding Clyde Edwards-Helaire is safeties are backing off to not get beat deep. Clyde has all the free room to roam.
Oh, it's
and
a running back street.
It's phenomenal. I mean,
100%.
there's multiple clips, and I tell everybody to go back and watch it. If it stays that way, Clyde's going to hit 100 plus multiple weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 138 yards on 25 carries, and Tom and I were talking about when's the last time Andy Reid's actually, given the ball carrier 25 carries. It was actually in the playoff game in 2018 against the Colts. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I really do think. I think one of the reasons he did so well early on, he was a leading rusher in the entire league, one of 3 running backs that actually had 100 yards rushing. One of the reasons he did so well is no one had any tape on him. There was no preseason games. There were no practice footage that got released or anything. So I think Andy just kind of wanted to test out his new toy and kind of put the league on notice that they're really going to have to game plan for both the full attack. So that was really interesting to see. And then Mahomes had a pretty, I think, mediocre performance in our
Only 211 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah,
Come on, Mahomes.
I think it's pretty pedestrian. But then he threw TDs to Kelsey, Watkins, Hill, spreading the ball around. But yeah, I really do think this offense is evolving into, just like you mentioned, a very well-oiled machine that, while it may not be the most exciting game of the week, it's just something that you're always going to have to prepare for. So.
I think they learned from that Rams game. That's one of the more exciting games I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
They lost.
Yeah.
I know.
It wasn't going to work doing that every week. I think Andy maybe long-term was thinking, how do we really get balanced? Like, Pat is awesome. Pat throwing for that much is awesome, but we got to be able to read up on any situation, be able to attack any situation. So I think Clyde is huge for that. I didn't love the pick, personally. I'm the not pick a running back in the first round club, because you could have gotten a guy in the 4th round who might still be as effective.
Right.
But there's no use in that type of hindsight if Clyde goes for 130 every week. I think he's huge for them now.
Yeah, and I think we ended up getting a good draft pick with our second round pick, Willie Gay, which we talked about last week. Didn't have that big of an impact as we thought he would.
Need to see more of him. I think we will. Hopefully week 2. We'll see him break out a little bit.
I think he had one rush. I think I saw him one time get to the quarterback. Fun stat, by the way. I believe, I saw this today on Twitter. Go Twitter. 60% of Watson's dropbacks were pressured. The next highest in the NFL that week was 34%.
That's crazy.
So the Chiefs were getting after it.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Jones, Frank Clark. Frank Clark was a beast, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Spags, though, for that scheme, right?
Spags.
Dude.
Spags is exciting. Bob Sutton would have sent one dude the whole game and played back like nothing happened.
Yeah.
We
Bend
talked
don't
about,
break, right?
Yeah, we talked about Bob last week. Let's not bring him up anymore.
Oh, we're done.
Sorry, Bob.
Yeah.
See you later.
But yeah, so I guess let's get into the defensive performance while we're on it, and then we'll touch on the other couple of headlines. But yeah, amazing performance, 7 points. That first drive, I think they were just kind of seeing what they're going to throw at them, but shut out until the 4th quarter from there. I thought they did a great job holding Deshaun Watson. Obviously, with no vertical threat in Hopkins anymore, Deshaun's really going to be limited this year. They brought in Brandon Cooks. I still don't think that's anywhere close to a game changer as DeAndre Hopkins is. So we'll see how they evolve. But I really did think we looked great in the passing game. L'Jarius Sneed, huge game, huge week 1 game. So
we needed that from a rookie as well. That was massive.
He's huge now with Ward. Travarius Ward has the fractured hand.
Heal quickly.
Hope so, because that can be a couple weeks, it can be a month, and if so, you get Breland back week 5.
Right.
Till then, it's a couple. It's a rook and a second-year guy in Rashad Fenton. So, and he was good. They both have played well. That's a coaching staff credit. Getting guys who are young and maybe overlooked. Snead was a late or mid-round pick.
Yeah, 4th round.
4th round.
Yeah, credit to him for coming in and not only starting that game, but also beating Rashad Fenton out for that job. Because Fenton played really well in the playoffs last year, and we thought we had another star in the making. But I do think L'Jarius Sneed might be the steal of the draft. Call him L'Jarius Speed because he's
he was the second fastest ball carrier according to Next Gen Stats. He had
21.38
miles per hour.
Yes,
Dude was
I'm
cooking.
still working to get into that. Okay, keep working every day.
Yeah.
I got to give Brett Veach some credit because I think you could knock him for his draft 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because out goes Breland Speaks. You're like, what was that? And the last 2 years have been perfect. They've been perfect.
Yep.
So major credit to him.
Yep. It's just continuing to reload now that we've got everyone signed up. So
Yep.
we're all good there. But on the defense, I think Tyron said he was pissed off, honestly. I mean, at the end of the game, which is great in your defensive leader. You always want to see someone that's just continually striving for perfection. And so they let up 13 points
We took
towards the end.
foot
so.
off the gas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately. We didn't come away unscathed, though, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it was entirely too negative. We had some injuries.
Yep.
You know, we discussed one already, but Colin Saunders, the dislocated elbow, he said that he'll be back quickly. He'll be back with a vengeance. Twitter let me know about his mentality, right? So go Twitter again. And then Okafor, which he's a force to be reckoned with. He kind of goes, people don't talk about him too much, but he's a stud in there. So hopefully his hamstring will heal up quickly. Yeah, any thoughts on those injuries from you guys?
I think if they can get Ward in a club, that he should be fine.
Right.
You know, those hand injuries, obviously he's not going to be able to intercept the ball like he normally would, but
Sure.
punch it out. We'll see what happens. I think Kendall Fuller did that.
Correct.
So I'm not too worried about it. And then Austin Ryder, actually, I know I took that off of there, but he's on the injury report this week as well with I forget what it is.
Sore knee.
Sore knee. Okay, we'll go
And
with that.
Cheeseburger Andy says he's a little sore. Get him a cheeseburger and he'll heal up.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? This is a little sidebar, but the NFL Network released a video of one of Andy's favorite sayings, which is "Time's yours."
Mm-hmm.
But then throughout his
I
entire
watched that
career, he
today.
talks about betting cheeseburgers
Yep.
for things that are going to happen within the game.
That's just if you know your thing, you know your thing.
Oh, yeah.
Cheeseburgers are Andy's thing.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
Gotta love it. So he's got a ring now to go with that. All those cheeseburgers he's had over his career, but
Never have to pay for one again.
yeah,
Kansas.
exactly.
If you ever had to, that's kind of sad anyway. So.
True. Well, now that we've kind of gone through week one, before we get into week two, we kind of want to add a new thing into the show where we talk about fantasy performers of the week. Some of the guys that we're looking at in week two, just to give you some advice. I know I'm a huge fantasy guy. Tom, you mentioned that
Big
as
time.
well.
Let's do it.
Lucas,
Yep.
you got a couple teams. I have 5. I don't know why I put myself
Okay, I'm
through
not
this,
as big a fan
but-
as you.
like I can't even root for anyone anymore. I just got to put a team out there and just have fun watching. So.
I thought 3 was a lot for myself.
I got coaxed into doing 2 extra this year. I usually have 3, but
It's like the whole league is on your team.
I know it's somewhere. But so Tom, why don't you start us out? You got anyone you're excited about this week?
This week against the Chargers, correct, at LA, I really like Tyreek Hill, which is basic, but I think that as sort of muddled as he was in the first week, I know they've got a couple really good corners there. They got Chris Harris and they got Casey Hayward. I still think they find a way to emphasize getting him the ball because you're not going to not try to get him the ball. So I think Tyreek's up for the challenge. I think McCole Hardman, where was he? Nice to see him get a good end around, a good sprint downfield. So those 2 guys at receiver, you have a tough secondary. If you can still break through, I think that's big time.
Yeah.
If you stuck it out with McCole through week 1, right, and you're not scared to play him again. However, the Chiefs have a new receiver. It seems like break out every week.
Right.
I fell into the Sammy Watkins trap, right, for week 1 as far as picking him up off waivers, thinking he may go off next week. I'm not going to talk about him. He's going to stay on the bench. We'll see.
Let it play out. Let it play out.
Yeah. We'll see. It could be DeMarcus this time. But the guy that I want to start this week that could be on the fringe, so for anybody who's having any flex issues or you're going to start your McCaffreys of the world and poor Michael Thomas, he's out, but Devontae Adams, etc. For a fringe player, Jamison Crowder. So he went off last week, 24.5 points.
Okay.
He is a person that generally speaking gets the highest volume of targets on the pitiful Jets. Absolute terrible team. However, they are playing the 49ers. Richard Sherman just got put on the injured reserve, so they're down a corner. With a 13, only PPR leagues, but if with 13 targets last week, if he repeats that same volume against a somewhat hobbled 49ers defense, I can see him repeating a 15-plus point performance. Put him in at flex, start him. Sit. Mark Ingram. Baltimore Ravens destroyed.
It's J.K. Dobbins season.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wonder how
Verbatim,
long
he
that
stole
was
what I
going to
gonna
take.
say.
It looks like it's not going to take very long.
Yeah. And they even dominated the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah.
However, you would think with them being up, he would get more touches. Negative. Dobbins has converted all of the goal line touches, so you can kind of kiss your TDs goodbye. If you were lucky to pick up Naeem Hines, is it Naeem?
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
If you're lucky to pick up Hines with Marlon Mack being out, that's a running back with Mark Ingram being on your bench, pick him up, start him if you need a running back.
I like him. He's like Austin Eckler 2.0 for Phillip Rivers, and Austin Eckler's pretty good.
And Phillip Rivers loves his checkdowns, right?
He does.
To his running backs. So
10 checkdowns a game.
Yep. Sit Mark Ingram, start Hines if you picked him up, and we'll go from there.
Cool. I'm gonna go with. So you mentioned Michael Thomas is out. Obviously, unfortunately, I had him in one of my 5 leagues. So I'm not too down there. But if you have Michael Thomas on your team, go ahead and pick up Traquan Smith. He's gonna be their second receiver this week. And if you got Emmanuel Sanders, hammer that start. You gotta put him in there with Drew Brees as your quarterback in that offense. So both of those guys should have a decent amount of targets. Emmanuel Sanders over Traquan Smith, but. If you need just a streaming start, that might not be a bad option this week. For my sit, I'm going to go with James Conner. So I have him in a couple of my leagues, and obviously he got that tweaked ankle. And Benny Snell went off last week. But they're going to be playing the Broncos this week, who, they let up 100 yards to Derrick Henry, but he had 34 touches. So I think they're like the 9th best defense running-wise. So I would go ahead and sit him. If you have Benny Snell, I don't really think that's a play either. But I just don't trust James Conner being healthy enough after missing the entire game.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So that's the fantasy performance of the week. Let's go ahead and look into week 2 against the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to get an awesome preview, or I guess our first look, other than Monday Night Football, at that $5 billion SoFi Stadium. Obviously, wish we could have been there in person, but we'll get it one day. Shout out to Matt Ambrose and the Dimensional Innovations team as well for their work with SoFi Stadium. That was
awesome
really
stadium.
cool. If you don't know what they did with that, go ahead and check out on LinkedIn. But really cool stadium. Did you see it all on Monday night? All their it's $5 billion. It's a mecca of sports now,
and it's empty.
Yeah,
it's like so weird. All that
how much money there was.
empty.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's you know what? There's one guy who's looking at that on TV and being like, "Darn, it's Jerry Jones." He's like, "I thought I built the biggest stadium. They're gonna renovate that stadium in like 2 years, just to do it,
of course,
just because he's jealous."
Yep,
agreed.
Yep.
Jerry World is phenomenal. Have you guys been to Jerry World?
I have not.
Looks like a flying saucer landed in Arlington.
Yeah.
Basically, or Irving.
It's got like one of the best modern art collections in the States as well.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah,
Did not
Mrs.
know that.
Jones
I didn't
is
either,
a
and I
great
was there.
collection.
Yeah, I missed it. I missed the fine art.
Yeah, you learn something new every day on the show, I will say. Anyway, so the Chargers last week barely hung on to beat the Bengals.
Yes.
16-13 on an absolutely hilarious last play with that missed chip
Poor
shot.
Randy
field goal where
Bullock.
He faked the wrong leg that he got hurt with, and so he'll be back.
Was it an
this week,
interview?
but-
He said something, and like he mistook the left
dude.
calf for the right, and then he said they were both injured.
Oh no.
Dude, you missed the field goal.
Yeah, you got to own
missed
it.
the field goal.
Own it and move on.
Come on.
Yeah, but bad showing. Tyrod Taylor had 208 yards on 16 of 30 and a 75.4 rating last week. Give us your first take. What do you think is going to happen this week?
I covered Tyrod for 2 years in Buffalo, so I'm very familiar with him. He's a good quarterback. He's actually one of the shockingly best deep ball throwers in the NFL.
Really?
They don't let him loose a lot. It's not like a bomb like
Kind of like an
Mahomes.
Alex Smith type guy?
He's like super accurate.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when they let that go, I'd look out for that because they'll usually connect. But he just doesn't put up points in offenses. I don't think you have to worry about this being a shootout both ways. I think the issue is figuring out how to beat Joey Bosa in that crazy good defense, even without Derwin James.
Yeah,
because Joe Mixon was bottled up. Joe Burrow, I think, took 6 or 7 sacks. It was a lot for a first game in the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple with Austin Ryder's knee and without LDT there, still figuring out, although Osemele, we had mentioned Osemele, looked amazing.
Very
We're
good
talking
point.
about guards on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes.
Yes. He was so good. So if they can just pass protect against that defensive front, I think it's the same old story. The Chiefs beat the crap out of the Chargers and they move on and they just ran over the AFC West.
Couldn't agree more.
Sure.
Lucas, give me your
Yeah.
keys to victory.
So my keys to victory for this one: keep spreading the wealth. Right. So we have so many tools. Almost to what I've heard on a few radio shows lately, just play off the defense, what they're giving you. If they're playing back, let's keep working down low, whether it be a quick cross to Sammy, whether it be a run to Clyde. Let them run back and play prevent or contain, and we'll pick apart. Then when they come up, Tyreek, if you start him, get
my
that
goal.
deep bomb touchdown, right? So keep spreading the wealth, play what they give you would be point one. Keys to victory, point two, contain Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I didn't think Mike Williams was going to start last week because of that injury. He did end up starting. He looked okay. He made some great catches. So if we can contain them on the outside, Snead, another big game from him, another big game from our secondary. Make sure they don't get behind us on our end. We're going to be okay. They're going to be playing catch up. They'll make mistakes. And then, as long as we make our field goals and extra points, guys, right?
I think the butt kicker's got that under control.
Butt kicker,
Harrison.
Randy Bullock. Bit of a difference.
Harrison, you're fine. We'll be okay there. So I'm very excited. I think we'll get into predictions here in a minute, but it should be a fun, high-scoring fest on our end.
I agree. Tom, do you got any offensive players of the week?
Offensive from the past week or looking
for
at
this
week?
For this coming week.
For this coming
who
week.
do you think's gonna have a good game?
Yeah, I stand by Tyreek, even against the cornerbacks. I really feel like Travis Kelce, just because the linebackers there are kind of the weak spot, and that's where you can, especially without Derwin James, which safety is going to come cover him. So I think you might see a 2-touchdown game from him, like vintage, just Kelce takes over if Hill's not the guy. I think to your point, with the receivers they have and with Tyrod being a good deep ball thrower, winner might have a couple more deep shots that go completed than the other. Those are the big things to watch, to your point about the corners.
Right.
So, but if not that, I think Kelce is the guy on offense for sure.
Cool. You got a defense?
On defense, I think you're going to have to keep the pass rush up again, because it didn't look like they're going to just dump out to Austin Eckler like they did with Phillip Rivers. I think Tyrod, for being a good runner, takes a lot of sacks. You got to rattle him. You got to get him making sure he's in the pocket and not being able to go out and run. So I think if they contain him, I think Frank Clark and Chris Jones, again, two really good players. But if they show up like they usually should, I think those are two guys to watch for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, on my end, for the offensive side of things, I was going to say Tyreek, but now that I think about it, I think you got to look at the tackles with this pass rush. Mitchell Schwartz didn't allow a single sack all last season, and he allowed one in week one. So I don't really think we're going to regress. He's one of the most underrated players in the entire league. But yeah, I would definitely watch how those guys handle that insane pass rush. That should be a good matchup. And then on defense, I was going to say Chris Jones. Pouncey was banged up. He didn't play. They're starting center. So with him over the ball, I think he could have a pretty huge game if he's still out in week 2. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the injuries go. But I think Chris Jones and that whole defensive line should have a pretty solid game.
Who's going to step out, I think, and why I'm keeping Sammy on the bench? DeMarcus, despite the drops he had, Pat's going to keep his trust in him.
Okay.
I think DeMarcus Robinson will have a big week this week. I don't have him in fantasy, but I'm going to put my stamp on it. We'll come back to it next week.
Okay.
Book DeMarcus Robinson for at least a touchdown.
All right.
I like it.
This week.
Yeah. It's always something new with this offense. It's that's what I love about it. You got weapons everywhere. It's just pick your poison.
I mean, they could all score too. Like, that's how it works sometimes with these guys, right? So one touchdown for each.
Yeah, why not?
I'm with it.
He spread it around last week, touchdown to each receiver, so hopefully we do that again. So let's get into some score predictions. Tom, why don't you start us out? What are you thinking for the game?
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't love the Chargers offense. I'm gonna say it's a pretty good difference in points here. I'm thinking like Chiefs 31, Chargers 17.
Okay.
I like
that.
it. Yeah, I like it
Lucas,
as
what
well.
about you?
We're going to go pretty similar to last week's prediction, but I say we put up 38
Okay.
to 20 Chiefs. Cool. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I'm gonna go pretty big with mine, like I did last week. I'm gonna go 42-13. I think we're gonna shut them down.
So we're saying go ahead and just forget the spread and just put all the money on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now the line is actually, I think it moved up. It's -9. I put my mortgage on 8.5. Like seriously, like I really don't. I don't see how we don't beat them by at least 10 points at a minimum. I don't know if Vegas thinks it's going to be a trap game or if they are just smarter than everyone else. But, I think with their defense, we're just going to pick them apart. And their offense just cannot keep up. So
I just look at every game that's in the AFC West as a sure thing, not just to win, but to cover.
Yeah, sure.
Totally.
Honestly, it seems like any team that trips them up is usually out of division. So we'll see.
I agree.
Very true.
So we're actually going to keep track of the score predictions this year, and it's really just going to be the difference in points. So I guess if Lucas, you were +5. You predicted 38-21.
Correct.
So the difference between the Chiefs score, the difference between the Texans score versus the actual score was
yep.
5 points.
Correct.
I predicted 41-24. That's +11 Lucas. And so all of our guests
Okay.
are they're going to have the running total. He was 38-28. He was +12. So we'll keep a running total all year. We'll keep track of that. It should be pretty fun. We'll have to come up with a bet or something between the two of us.
So is this going to be running then?
Yeah, running
Okay.
total. Yeah,
All
whoever
right.
is the lowest running total wins. So.
You better hope you don't not off by a lot again.
Yeah. So I guess that does it for episode 2 of Talkin' Chop. If you're listening on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, make sure to subscribe and follow us along all season. We got some awesome guests. Tom, thank you so much for being with us
Thanks, Tom.
today.
You bet, guys.
Appreciate
Thank you.
It was
Yeah.
great learning more about what you're doing, what you got coming up here at Let It Fly. So excited to follow along with everything you guys are doing this season as well.
Yeah, likewise with the show.
Make sure to hit Tom up. They have a lot of exciting things in the future, and he'll take care of you. You're a good dude. I appreciate you coming on.
Do our best, man. Thank you guys so much.
We'll catch y'all next week. And as always,
Go Chiefs!